Hello, and welcome back to the Programming Basics tutorial series. In this part, we're going to be taking a look at conditionals, more commonly known as if statements. Let's get to it. Let's say I want a specific output based on a specific condition. Well, what I can do is I can write if, and then condition 1, and then after that, do this. So do something, do whatever is in this line of code, right? Now if I want to check another condition, I can also do that. That's going to be equal to do this instead. Right, excuse me, poor handwriting. Now we have two conditions in this example, right? However, if condition 1 is met, we don't necessarily want to be checking for condition 2. So how can we fix that? Well, we can go ahead and before the other if statement, we can put an else. What this will do is that if condition 1 is not met, it'll check condition 2. However, if condition 1 is met, it'll skip over condition 2 and it'll skip over everything else. Now at the very end here, if none of the conditions are met, we could just have an else statement and we can have some sort of default output. So that's basically in pseudocode how to do this. This is very pseudocode. Let's hop into C# and actually do it. Before we get to programming for this tutorial, we need to be introduced to a new mathematical symbol which some of you might not know. It is the modulus operator. From early days of division at school, you might have learned that something like 35 divided by 3 is equal to 11 with a remainder of 2. Well, that's exactly true. However, if I want to check only the remainder and not the actual result, I can go 35 mod 3, and this will give me the answer of 2 right away. Let's say we want to check whether our x value is divisible by a certain number or not. For example, 2. Right, so now that we've checked that, we can run it to make sure that it actually works, and it does. Now let's say we want to check if this value is equal to 3 before we check if it's equal to 2. So the order that things will be done by now is first it'll check if x, which is in this case equal to 34, if x is a multiple of 3. Alright, because we have this if x mod 3 is equal to 0, notice two equal signs, I'll get back to that later, is equal to 0. It checks this first, and then it checks this other condition. As it stands at this moment, if this number x is divisible by both 3 and 2, it'll tell us that it is divisible by both 3 and 2. However, we might not always want to check if a number is divisible by 2 numbers. We might only want the 1. Because if I change this value now to 36, right? And I run the program again, it's going to spew out divisible by 3 and 2. Because 36 is divisible by 6, which is 3 times 2. Sometimes we want to check for only one value. So if this condition is met, just skip over to the end. We can fix this by, as we saw on the whiteboard earlier, we could put in an else if statement. So this will only run if this condition is false. So now it should only print out divisible by 3. And it does, because it has checked this condition. And because we have an else if here and not just an if, this is a part of the same chain as the above statement. So now I have this if x mod 3 equals 0. It'll write to the console x is divisible by 3. Now, if this condition is not met, if this condition is equal to false, if x mod 3 actually has a value besides the number 0, it'll go past this, it'll go straight into the else if. Here it checks if x is a multiple of 2, and then it'll write this line if and only if x is a multiple of 2. However, if neither of these conditions are met, it'll default to x is not divisible by any of the test numbers. So now, if we put our value 35 in here, we know that 35 is not divisible by either 3 or 2. We know that 35 mod 3 is equal to 2, and 35 mod 2 is equal to 1. So none of these conditions will be met, therefore it'll go straight to the else statement and print x is not divisible by any of the test numbers. Ta-da! So that concludes part 3 of our Programming Basics tutorial series. If you want to see more, you can like the video, you can subscribe. If there were aspects of this video which you didn't understand, please say so in the comments down below and I'll do my best to answer you either in the comment section itself or in another video. I hope you learned something, and until next time, happy coding!